Hi everyone, it's Evelyn. I have a twin flame read for you today, but before I do the read, there are some messages I wanted to get out to you. One of the things that's coming up right now is realizing that you're probably going to be tested on whether you believe something because you heard it from someone else, or did you question it, wanting to know from your own perspective, your own higher knowing, whether it's true or not. So something regarding that came up in the stuff that I brought up yesterday before the read, which I didn't give you all the information that came up from yesterday's read, so I wanted to give you the rest of that information here. And it had a lot to do with the heavenly elements of salt, sulfur, and mercury, and the alchemist. So I told you yesterday, oh, and by the way, my daughter's feeling much better today. So for those of you who did send prayers out to her, which I know some of you probably did, I just wanted to thank you in advance. She's actually woke up feeling great today. So your efforts do work, and they are noted, and thank you so much. So I brought up the fact that I'd gotten an audible message, not last night, but the night before last, of Plidik Nin. And when I looked it up, it meant a couple different things, but most apparently was Ping Liang is in you, which is a very honorable distinction in Tao and Confucianism, which I'll get into. And then also Plidik Nin also means photographed the bottom of you. And after having had a bad experience in a massage session, that wasn't a great thing to hear. But it's still funny, you know, in the whole scheme of things. So I had looked up Ping Liang, since that came up as my message, Ping Liang is in you. And I just want to make sure I'm starting in the right place. Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah. So something else that came up when I looked up Ping Liang was a Chinese medicine center for acupuncture and Chinese medicine out in Washington State, in Bellingham, which is exactly where my brother and his wife had moved to recently this year. Or actually last year they moved up there. But like, what are the chances that the acupuncture center that comes up under Ping Liang is in the town that my brother just moved to in Washington State? So that came up, and the name of the doctor who runs that center, her name is Ping Liang. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but that's okay. And then in looking that information up, Huangdi came up, which means yellow emperor or yellow thirch. So Di means highest god, and that was coming from the Shang dynasty. So again, this is all Chinese dynasty stuff coming up here. And from 475 to 221 BCE, Di equaled the deities associated with the 5 sacred mountains of China and the colors. So again, that came up, that has to do with Ping Liang. So Huangdi is yellow Di, and associated with the 5 sacred mountains, or the yellow thirch, which equals the first emperor's title as August Thirch, or godly ruler. In the 5 phases, yellow represents the earth, the yellow dragon, or the center. So remember that yellow, because we're going to be talking about sulfur as well, and sulfur's yellow, and that's also referencing the masculine. Huang can be yellow or August, or in other words, distinguished or radiant. The human emperor that is very close to God. So then there's a lot of different names that have come up referencing the same thing. So then Xuan Wan came up, X-U-A-N and then Y-U-A-N. But X-U-A-N means selected. And when you put Wan in there too, it just repeats the X-U-A-N and then Wan again. But X-U-A-N YUA does come up with a definition, breeding. So selected and breeding comes up here. And then PIN also came up because pinyin is also another way of saying it. And pin means product in Chinese. PIN, and you know I bring the pin up all the time. So it's interesting it comes up as pinyin because yin is the feminine energy, and the feminine is considered a product. Very interesting there, huh? And also Yeah, watch out for the distortions, because even though definitions may be true, they may be distorted from their original version. So it doesn't mean that someone did it with malicious intent, but it's been changed over time, and they may not be correct according to what we need to know in this true ascension process. So in the 1st century BCE, yet the Yellow Emperor, or the Xuanwan, the Pinyin, others said the Xuanwan was the name of the hill where Huangdi lived and later took the name, and another would say vice versa. So there's lots of discrepancies there on where it actually came from. But the Xuan also is Regulus in Chinese, associated with the Huangdi in traditional astronomy, and also to the broader constellations Leo and Lynx, Lynx being the body or the yellow dragon, the Huanglong, and Huangdi's animal form. So Regulus came up as being significant here, which is the lion, the lion's head, the Alpha Leonis, the Alpha Leo, a Leo, the brightest object in the Leo constellation and one of the brightest stars in the night sky. It is 79 light years from the sun, and I have to tell you, Regulus is coming up 79 light years from the sun, and the chiropractor that I found in Washington graduated from went to medical school in 1979, and 79 for me is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and I graduated from high school in 79. So there's a lot of 79 parallels here. So Regulus appears as a single constellation star, but it's actually a quadruple star system. It's got 4 stars in 2 sets of pairs. Binary Regulus A is a blue-white main sequence star with its companion, which has not yet directly been observed, but is probably a white dwarf. HG 87884 is the number, is separated from Regulus by 176 inches and is itself a close pair. Regulus with 5 slightly dimmer stars, Zeta, Mu, Gamma, and Epsilon, and Eta, Lioness, they're all called Lioness stars, or Leonis stars, however you want to pronounce it. And by the way, Mu came up, Mu, so that was very significant here. But the stars together are called the sickle, or in other words, the head of the Leo constellation. Regulus in Latin means prince or little king, or the heart of lion in Arabic. The BC, or the second set of stars, have an angular distance of 177 arc seconds from Regulus A, and Regulus is 0.465 degrees from the ecliptic and is regularly occulted by the moon. It has occults by Mercury and Venus, but they're rare, as well as asteroids, which are rare. And there's a Bayer designation. So the Bayer designation has to do with if something is less than 0.9 degrees from the ecliptic, which is the perfected mean plane of the Earth's orbit, and the mean apparent path of the sun. So the last occult of Regulus by a planet was on July 7th, 1959, by Venus, and the next will occur on October 1st, 2044, as well by Venus. The asteroid 166 Rhodope, seen by 12 researchers from Portugal, Spain, Italy, and Greece, happened on October 19th, 2005. And that date's coming up soon. The differential bending of light was measured to be consistent with general relativity. Regulus is occulted by asteroid 163 Aragoni, early March 20th, 2014. Regulus is seen all year except a month on either side of 8/22 to 24 when the sun overlaps. It can be seen the whole night across the sky in late February, and pre-sunrise appearance is the first week of September. Every 8 hours, Venus occults its star system around that time in September, as on September 5th, 2014. So Regulus A was thought to be a very young star, about 50 to 100 million years old. But then when they noted that it had its partner was probably a dwarf planet, that would take it to being over 1 billion years old. The two twins share a common proper motion and are thought to orbit each other. The comparison pair has an orbital period of about 600 years with separation of 2.5 inches in 1942. So there's significance to the numbers here. The 600 years is the 6 of the lovers with a lot of source energy behind it, and the separation of the 2.5, and that has to do with the 25 of the Knight of Wands. But also there's something significant about the 2.5 being the half of the 5, which is expansion, okay? So in Chinese, known as the 14th star of Xuanwan, the yellow emperor, in Indian astronomy, Regulus equals the bountiful. Nakshatra, Mangha, associated with granite, mugwort, and the Kabbalistic symbol. In traditional Chinese medicine, which is acupuncture, herbal medicine, cupping, Wangsha, massage, Qigong, and bone setter, all used in sinosphere. So S-I-N-O, sphere, is literally what's considered the Chinese area. So not just China, but including all of the other Oriental areas there. So that'll come up in a second. But trafficked and farm-raised animals used in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, are a source of several fatal zoonotic diseases. The probable bat to human COVID-19 infection may have been among people processing bat carcasses and guano in production of TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine. And of course, in Chinese medicine, you're always talking about the qi, or the life force. Okay, so Sinosphere is East Asian cultural sphere. So China, Japan, Korea, Vietnamese energies. And that's all from wikipedia.org, en.m.wikipedia.org. And so it equals the Confucius or Taoist world, not just the country of China. China is constituted as the Han Chinese. So Han was significant too, and that came up in the code line the other day or yesterday, whenever it was. So Han is very significant here, and that's referencing the whole Chinese country, the Han speaking Chinese. So Shang Han comes up here. I can't read the second word I wrote. But it's the treatise on cold damaged diseases, the disorders or cold injury, quote unquote, the traditional Chinese medicine information compiled by Zhang Zongjing before 220 AD at the end of the Han dynasty, amongst the oldest clinical texts in the world and one of 4 canonical works of the traditional Chinese medicine. So Wuxing, W-U-X-I-N-G, which I guess can be considered waxing again, but wuxing is the 5 elements, the 5 agents, movements, phases, planets, processes, stages, poisons, 5 steps or 5 ways or 5 virtues, the 5 tops of qi dominating at different times. So in other words, fire, water, wood, metal, and earth, which is the order of the days of the week. The mutual generation order is wood, fire, earth, metal, and then water. And the mutual overcoming, or the obstacles, the order is wood, earth, water, fire, metal. And this was all significant in the Han dynasty, so that's why Han was coming up this week. Used in alchemy, feng shui, astrology, traditional Chinese medicine, music, military strategy, and the martial arts. So then Mercury was coming up here, because I had looked up Mercury to research it more, about why it's so feared as being toxic, because, as you know, we eat mercury in tuna fish all the time. So obviously we do eat it. It's not that it kills us if it touches us. It kills us if we eat a lot of it. Just like many other things. Just like I've discussed before, as amygdalin has arsenic in it, but it's in most natural foods. But in the U.S., we're so processed, they process the heck out of the food, so there is no amygdalin in it. But amygdalin is natural in food, just as poison is in nature, because there are certain roles that poison plays in killing off things that don't belong in our body or don't belong in the plants in the system between different flowers or plants. They all work together, just like the bees pollinate the flowers and so on, so on, and so on. So mercury was used way back when for skin diseases. They did use it for syphilis along with arsenic in the 1940s, and that's not so long ago. It's number 80 atomic number, and then it's called quicksilver as well. It's the only other liquid at room temperature is halogen bromine or bromine. So mercurochrome, as opposed to adrenochrome, mercurochrome was coming up here from straightdope.com on July 23rd, 04, that thimerosal is a mercury-containing preservative in vaccines that was suspected of causing autism and other neurodisorders in children. However, a recent review by a panel of prominent scientists found no evidence for such publicized autism link. It is no longer used except in flu shots. So it's still being used. And how many people get flu shots and are required to do so at work? So obviously, it is still used. So Chinese used mercury as a contraceptive 4,000 years ago. And this is from mercurypolicy.scripts.mit.edu. That was about the medical publication and the mercury being used in flu shots. Chinese use mercury as a contraceptive, and then cinnabar, which is mercury and sulfur, is still used as a sedative in traditional Chinese medicine. By 1000 CE, mercury was used to extract gold by amalgamation. So mercury surrounds the gold, forming shiny pellets that workers then burn off when they want the gold. So in other words, just like they've been, just like the elitists have been hoarding the adrenochrome, I was getting the same message for the mercury. Like they want the mercury because the mercury extracts gold. So literally, if you put mercury in the earth over time, just like coal turns to a diamond, the mercury will pull gold to it. So this is the information. That's my download. So you can let me know what you think about that or what you feel about that. So heavy metals, including mercury and arsenic, accumulate in the kidneys and can definitely cause renal failure and can cause liver failure, things like that, if there's too much heavy metals in your body. And from AsianScientist.com, traditional Chinese medicine often is contaminated with mercury and arsenic. And from en.m.wikipedia.org, in 1937, the elixir sulfanilamide, there was a mass poisoning in the U.S., and it was due to accidental contamination. So cinnabar comes up because cinnabar is the combination between sulfur and mercury, and it's what is used in traditional Chinese medicine. It is red, and it's also used for red dyes and used to be used for blush. I'm sure it still is in some places. And considered in the alchemist world, it's the vermilion or the elixir, the alchemy, the key word for the Chinese for immortality, elixir, or of Dan, D-A-N, or something that's with gold, cinnabar or red. So cinnabar was always associated with immortality. So many emperors died, trying to take it, to make themselves immortal. As well as the Lingzi, the Ganoderma mushroom, Ganoderma mushroom. I think I'm reading my spelling right. So, and cinnabar is also associated with volcanic activity and hot springs, used in rouge and stoneware. And literally the code is HGS, which is sulfur and mercury. It's mercury sulfide. Mercury, yes, mercury being number 80 and sulfide being number 16. So at 121, the mushroom was coming up here for immortality as well as the cinnabar. The transformation from chemistry-based Waidan, W-A-I-D-A-N, or external elixir alchemy to physiology-based Nidan or Nidan, N-E-I-D-A-N, which is the internal elixir or alchemy, where the human body metaphorically becomes a ding, D-I-N-G, which equals a cauldron, in which the adept forges 3 treasures. And that's so funny because the treasure chest was coming up in my reads yesterday. So literally it's calling the cauldron is your lower belly, and the 3 treasures are essence, life force, and spirit. Within the Jin Dan, the golden elixir, within the Dan Tian, or with the field, quote unquote, the lower part of the abdomen is considered the field. In early China, alchemists and pharmacists were the same. In traditional Chinese medicine was also used, they used less concentrated cinnabar and mercury preps. And Dan means pill now, or medicine in general. The elixir of immortality, or in other words, the medical prescription, that which elongates your life. So the sacrifice to the stove, and now this is from en.m.wikipedia, you will be able to summon things if you sacrifice to the stove. If you change or transform cinnabar powder into yellow gold to make vessels to eat and drink out of, increasing your lifespan, able to see that which is in the midst of the sea. And again, the sea is the salt water and the emotions of water. Perform sacrifices, Feng and Shan, to escape death. They used mercury and lead, and many died due to overdose of those toxic things. And then my input here was now, even though lead was poison before, that doesn't mean it doesn't have a purpose, because now lead protects us from radiation, doesn't it? So Liang Dynasty, the Emperor Wu, was very cautious about elixirs and was friends with Tao Hongjin, studying elixir alchemy. After Tao learned the secret art of making elixirs, was worried about the shortage of the materials. So the emperor supported him with gold cinnabar, copper sulfate, realgar, which is very close to the constellation of Regulus, realgar, and so forth. Elixirs had the appearance of frost and snow, like salt, and really did make the body feel lighter. The emperor took and found elixir effective. Tao presented 3 different elixirs to the emperor, who had refused elixirs from Dang Yu, who had claimed to have lived 30 years without food, only consuming pieces of mica in the stream water. In the Tang dynasty of 618 to 907, 2 sets of father and son emperors both died, trying to become immortal and taking too much of these things, obviously. So just to put things in perspective. So sulfur, again, is number 16 atomic number, and the letter S, which also can reference the Sophia energy. Abundant and non-metallic and yellow, and also is known as brimstone or burning stone. It gives off that skunk smell, grapefruit and garlic, all the things that stink. And it's funny, it's referenced to the masculine as well, because they're stinky too, due to sulfur, the essential element for all life, but almost always in the form of organic sulfur compounds or metal sulfides. So sulfur is not metal, but is almost always only useful in a compound with metal. So 3 amino acids, cysteine, and methionine, and 2 vitamins, biotin and thiamine, are such compounds. So disulfides, S to S bonds, confer mechanical strength and insolubility of protein, keratin, in skin, hair, and feathers. Sulfur is one of the core chemical elements needed for biochemical functioning, and is an elemental macronutrient for all living organisms. So obviously it's needed in everything. It's very much of this world, the 3D world, the earth. And that was all from Wikipedia. So then I found a site, neoanthroposophy.com, which I really liked a lot of the information, but there was something I didn't agree on. And here was my test on whether I was going to agree with it, because it looked very intelligent and like they knew what they were talking about, but it didn't resonate with the downloads I had gotten. So I'm going to tell you what that was. So this is Rudolf Steiner's work, neoanthroposophy.com. And he was talking about salt, mercury, and sulfur, the 3 forms or modes of action in which the universal primordial will is manifesting itself throughout nature. Each is an individual willpower and substantial for matter, quote unquote, and force, quote unquote, which are one and originate from the same cause. Held together in harmonious proportions constitute health. Their disharmony constitutes disease, and their disruption, death. So they were showing the pictures of sulfur, salt, and mercury, the three heavenly elements in alchemy, right? So, and those are the three symbols, just a rough drawing that I'd written down there so you see them. Okay? So salt is this is what they claim on their website, okay? So salt is in relation to the soul. And for me, I was just putting in there that, we all know salt preserves through evaporation of water and or emotion. It's emotionless and expands with use of emotion. There is reconstitution. So that has to do with expansion and contraction. Now, what they said was human nature destroys based on instinct and passions, which for me, I use the word ego there because it's not so much, instinct can be questionable on whether that's your own knowing or your ego. But passions, I always say that passions is intuition or inspiration rather with ego. So you must use noble thoughts under salt to protect self from destruction. Or in other words, I was getting here, prayer. So mercury, they say, is all that can dissolve something else was called quicksilver or mercury. Lower and higher dissolution, which equals lower and higher forms of love. Witnessing the dissolution process became a pious prayer. So they're bringing up the process of how these all come together. So the salt has to do with purifying your thoughts into prayer, and then the mercury bringing the prayer into a loving place, okay, into love. And then sulfur being the combustion. When material is consumed by flames, there's sulfur. In development of the earth, the gradual process of purification, similar to combustion or the sulfur process, or for me, chaos or confusion, then transformed. Salt is the divine thought, per what they said, mercury, the divine love, and sulfur, the divine sacrifice. So you can go to that website if you want to read more about it. I mean, a lot of it was very interesting and intelligently written. So, and he spoke about copper to silver to gold, which is probably why I see it as being distorted, and I'll tell you why in a minute, because I went back to see why I disagree with what they said, and I still resonate with what I found, and I'll tell you why. So there is a separation by gravity here on Earth, and therefore, this is still from their website, and therefore tends towards salt formation from that which bears light and akin to the workings of light, the phosphorus formation. Phosphorus is the sulfur. And we separate both categories from what is contained in the state of equilibrium between the two, which is what they're saying is mercury. When salt repels, phosphorus carries within, and when salt repels, it holds at bay, and phosphorus carries within. Which is interesting because sulfur, what was coming up between sulfur and mercury in my mind was that phosphorus absorbs mercury. So, and phosphorus is the masculine, mercury is the feminine. So that's why it's easier after breakups for the feminine to let go, whereas the masculine holds on for a very long time. And that's not the same before a relationship. When the feminine walks away from the relationship, it's very easy for her to let go, but it's not easy for the masculine to let go, even if he walks away from a relationship. That's what I'm saying here. And again, this is the masculine with the masculine being both the feminine and the masculine. So it just depends on how much you have of each within your own makeup. So external nature of the two states that are polar to one another, that which adds in the saline manner or phosphorus manner, and the third group that acts naturally. And then they break things down in the nerves and senses, the metabolism and the circulation, which bridges the as a mediatory function. So they were using the middle point as mercury, whereas I don't agree with that. And I'll tell you why. So they were calling the mediative function mercury and circulation, which I didn't parallel it to these other groups, so I'd have to do that to compare that stuff. But they were using mercury as the middle point, the 0 point, basically, energy. The mercury droplet form, or the blood, the functional middle between giving itself up to the outside world and hiding and interiorizing, and then revealing itself in a new immune response and learning after every infection. So describing the process to expand, it's expansion, grounding and integrating. It's the same thing as an infection. You get sick, your body learns how to deal with it, and then you start over again. So they were talking about the red blood cell being the salt pole among the blood constituents. The salt is the corporification and solidifying, the yin calcifying gravity, the nerves and senses, the cooling, the forming, the cognition, the thinking, the perceiving, and conservational effect relative to the past. And then Mercury, they were saying, is the principle, the consciousness, the sensation, the equal between salt and sulfur. The equal metal affects the rhythmic system, breathing and circulation, the harmony and balance, the feeling and emotion, the past and the future. Salt and sulfur not capable of further development. Inflammatory response system and coagulative system are metaphoric stages between the two extremes, and if had on one hand and then Mercury middle on the other. Mercury seeks droplet form you always have in protein constituents or constitutes, whatever. So sulfur equals expansive power, according to what they said, the centrifuge force, that which burns the solar light in all things. The yang energy, or the warmth, it connects to control the body, and phosphorus to ego. It affects the metabolic lymphatic system and form dissolving and warning willpower and future potential here. So I don't disagree with the position of the sulfur because that's the masculine and that's where they placed it. I disagree with how they placed Mercury and salt, because for me, as in what I put out the other day was salt. And I'm like, so what was I wrong? Was I wrong? I don't get that, because in alchemy, sulfur is literally depicted as a masculine figure and Mercury is literally depicted as a feminine figure. But one of the distortions I found, that depiction of sulfur, which is an upright triangle, the masculine triangle on a cross, that's sulfur. When I looked up on Wikipedia, it literally has an upside down triangle on a cross as the elemental symbol of sulfur, which is distorted because it was originally upright, which is the masculine triangle, not the feminine triangle. So that was very interesting. So note that Mercury is Hg and sulfur is S, and literally talking about how important cinnabar is, and that HGS is cinnabar. It's the middle. It's under the salt column. Okay, so the Mercury is literally a female form. It's the one that has the Taurus head, which looks like it's got horns on top, and then the cross body. It's liquid metal, like the silvery moon, which references the feminine. It's also, Mercury is very talkative, and it's a liquid solid. It's more fluid. It can go here, from here to there more easily. It's a poor conductor to heat, but fair with electricity, which is so funny because the masculine's electric. It's a poor conductor to heat, right? So women don't deal well when they get overheated, but they are fair when it comes to electricity, which is the feminine, which is really funny here. Mercury has extreme volatility, and the electrons fill all subshells, which electrons I brought up recently are feminine, not masculine. The electrons fill all subshells and behaves like a noble gas. This was very interesting. It strongly resists the removal of the electron, like noble gases, which form weak bonds and hence melt at low temperatures, right? The feminines have lots of little meltdowns, whereas the masculine, when they get pissed, you better watch out. You don't want to be around them. So Mercury reacts with solid sulfur flakes, which absorb mercury, and then mercury dissolves gold and silver to form amalgams, but not iron. So it doesn't amalgamate with iron, manganese, copper, zinc, or platinum, but it does with gold or silver. So like I said, if you have mercury, it draws gold to it. So it also apparently draws silver, but it does not draw iron. So the feminine energy is not compatible with our iron earth, our iron core earth, but it is very compatible with the crystalline core that we're becoming. So that would reference Mercury being the feminine not the mediator in the middle, okay? So what else was about? The sodium amalgam is common agent in organic synthesis of mercury, which seriously corrodes aluminum. So you know mercury is not allowed on aircrafts because it literally will corrode the actual aircraft. Number 202 mercury is the most abundant of the isotopes of mercury. 191 mercury has a half-life of 444 years. That's the longest life of that type of mercury. Another word is hydrogyros in Greek, which means water, silver. And alchemists thought that mercury was the first metal from which all metals were formed by varying sulfur amounts along with mercury, which again is cinnabar, the purest form, which is gold. So apparently cinnabar is gold. So the sulfurs is the masculine energy, and sulfur has a blue flame. It also turns red when it gets hot, right? The masculine expanding, it's the yellow emperor, the gold. But it turns red when it gets hot or too pissed, and it has a blue flame when it burns. When it's got its slow burn, it's blue, but if it gets too quick, it's red, okay? And sulfur, although it's not a metallic, it only really works with metals. So you only ever really see it in compounds with metals. It is phosphorus, it's explosive, it is a crystalline solid, and it stinks. And the boiling point for sulfur is 832.3 Fahrenheit, and it melts at 239.38 Fahrenheit. It is insoluble in water, but it is soluble in carbon. That was very interesting. And what else was coming up about sulfur? Its longest form is 87 days, the half-life, and is formed in cosmic ray spallation of 40 AR. Sulfurs are very common, but mercury is not. It's actually pretty rare. And salt is the mineral primarily sodium chloride, rock salt, halite, its natural form. It is vast, of course, in seawater, essential for life, seasoning, and preservation. Salt mines, and then, of course, the evaporation of seawater to get salt. Major industry products, as in caustic soda and chlorine. Too much salt causes cardiovascular disease, and also the covenant of salt, quote unquote, for the ancient Hebrews, they would give offerings, everything was sprinkled with salt to God. And also, did you know that fluoride is added to salts as well as aluminum? So there's, just because you think it's salt and it's health, in order to get iodine in the salt, they can add fluoride and aluminum, and really is that stuff that you want. So I never think of salt as having fluoride, but I don't use regular salt anymore anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I use Himalayan salt. But just want you to know, even if you're not drinking your water with fluoride in it anymore, if in order to get iodine into salt, they literally add sugar, fluoride, and I believe aluminum was that too, or it's just in salt for other reasons. Salt starts as something coarse and impure, but by adding water or emotions, dissolving the salt, it breaks down both the good and the bad, again, the dark night of the soul process, and is purified and eventually reformed into pure salt, the result of the interaction between mercury and sulfur. Okay, and that's from learningreligions.com. So again, the pictures of the mercury is the devilish female, right? So the symbol of Taurus, the circle with the little horns on top, and the cross, which is the silver, the distortion of these things being, things like the sulfur with the upside down triangle. Under alchemy, the symbol is an upright triangle, the masculine triangle on a cross. But in the elemental tables now, which I've never seen that before, is an upside down triangle, which is the feminine triangle on the cross. The symbol for salt is a circle with a line through it horizontally, which is also the symbol for half moon, which is the mid-cycle. I talk about that all the time. The salt is the mid-cycle, the half moon. Salt is also white and pink. It is not copper that we're talking about here. We're talking about the silver feminine, the gold masculine, and the rose gold salt, because the Himalayan salt can be construed as the rose gold. So, and also the mercury and the sulfur combine, the masculine and feminine, combine to the cinnabar, which is considered the salt of the earth. The cinnabar, the cinnabar has the second highest refractive index. And this is aside from, and gold wasn't even the number one. The non-minimal Gallium arsenide, I don't know if that's some kind of arsenic, but arsenide, 3.93 is the refractive index here. For gold, or for the diamond, it's 2.42. And cinnabar was, I guess I didn't write it down here, but it was above 3. So cinnabar has a higher refractive index than gold. So cinnabar also, as I said before, associated with volcanic activity and hot springs. And I talk about the Mary Magdalene hot springs in the south of France, where the fresh water meets the salt water, and that's where she did her baptisms. And that's very much about this coming together too, the alchemizing of the female and the male, the mercury and the sulfur into cinnabar. And then I was getting purple rain, the transmutation game, the salt of the earth. The salt of the earth is the midway point. The purple rain can reference, bringing that purple or the redness of the salt together with the silver, but also the blue flame. When the masculine is in a slow burn, he becomes the blue or the transmutational flame. It's very interesting. And also, if you have the symbol of salt, which is that circle with a line through it, that's also like an Easter egg that you can open up. And that also looks like those technical drawings I did on the toroidal field. Because when I put two toroidal fields together, was it 2 or 4? I can't remember. They literally look like Easter eggs being opened up and flowers inside. So it's literally, as you transmute, you become the flower. You become beautiful inside. So that was a great reference. So then right before the video, before I came on with you guys, I was getting a vision of a toroidal field. I did a drawing of what I actually saw. Where was that? Yeah. So right before the video, the field that I saw was like this little drawing at the top. Really explosive up and down. So it's referencing the implosion and the explosion all at the same time in the vacuum. And again, just like a tornado, you have it's exploding up, but it's also exploding down to the ground, which gives it that driving force. And then all the extraneous stuff that's whipping up around it is the field, okay? So, yeah, so that's all the stuff that I wanted to catch up from yesterday that came in. Oh, and notice too, because the symbol for salt is Na. And Na is what? It's neutral. So that definitely belongs in the middle. We have the Hg and the S, which becomes the middle. That becomes the cinnabar. But also the salt of the Na, which is not applicable. It's neutral. It's in between. So, very interesting. And then I'm going to get into... the read, but boy did purple rain come up a lot today, because it came up, I told you it came up in Jen McCarty's meditation that we did right after I'd written purple rain in my read yesterday. And then there was an ad on YouTube for purple rain healing. And yeah, it was kind of crazy. And I just used purple rain again. Yeah. So, take a deep breath, guys. I know that was a lot. Sending lots of love out to you guys. Okay. So this read was done at 5:43 yesterday afternoon. I cut the SIRIAN Starseed deck. This is for the Twin Flames. Is this for the Twin Flames? Actually, this is for the Divine Masculine. Just want to make sure I'm not missing something here. Nope, it's for the Divine Masculine. So Divine Masculine at 5:43, which is 5 is the expansion energy, change, 43 is the 3 of Cups. At 5:50, I got Riot. 5:50. 5 is the expansion and 50 is the 10 of Cups, that emotional fulfillment. And I finished clarifying at 5:59, which is expansion, and the 59 of the 5 of Swords, which is that conflict, the war within. The major arcana here were Ascension, and we're starting this read at about 45 minutes. So the major arcana were Ascension, which is like the world. This is the SIRIAN Starseed deck. It is a 7-deck read for those of you not familiar with my reads. We have Ascension, Alchemy. Alchemy is like the Temperance card. Tower, Transition, which is the Death card. Chariot, and then before the read, Karma came up, which is Judgment, and after the read, Abundance came up, which is the Empress. There were 2 wands, 4 pentacles, and that was it. Okay, so there were no swords, and there were no cups. 2 wands, 4 pentacles, just in the main deck. We had the Queen of Wands in the read, and that's funny because 24, the 2 wands and the 4 pentacles, 24 is the Queen of Wands. So she came up in the read, and then the Knight of Pentacles. And before the read, the Queen of Swords and the Page of Pentacles both came up. And that could be 2 different mothers with a child each, or it could be someone with a younger person, or they could just represent messages, the pages and the knights. The code and the code line and the number were all about the number 77, which is the sovereign energy. We also had 23, the King of Wands. So we have the King and Queen of Wands, very significant here already. 77, the sovereign. And in a lesser sense, actually we have the 2, 3, 4, shut the door. 45, the 5 of Cups. 57, the 3 of Swords. 78, the 10 of Pentacles. And then in a lesser sense, 10, again, just to remind you to keep that vibration high. The code line was all about teaching and learning. And the number 10 from 3 and 7. 37 can also be construed as the King of Cups, unconditional love. And again, the number 10, keeping your vibration high. And also, Jen was talking about the number 10 in her meditation because it was done on 10/10. And she was talking about the quantum. And it was funny because as soon as she said that, when I wrote that down after the meditation, I was getting the number 10 and it transforming into the Q, because Q is literally the 0 and then the line. It's just repositioning the line into the Q. So that was very interesting. Okay, so regarding teaching and learning, easy does it. The feminine sees the 3 of socializing, abundance, the Empress. The after-death test of your ESP, the 7 of Wands, the Christ vibration, standing up for yourself and taking the high ground in transition at eaching and de-learning. Easy girl, take the high road. Emotional attachments after death, using your psychic abilities, toggling up teaching, or just tea in general. Maybe you're drinking tea or you know a tea. I know a tea. The chariot of the feminine within the masculine. And this references too that said the masculine absorbs the feminine, or the sulfur absorbs the mercury, because the feminine always comes up here as within the masculine. So the masculine absorbs the feminine very easily, becomes part of him. But it's easier that's why it's easier for the feminine to detach herself, but not for the masculine, because he still feels like she's in him. The 7 of the chariot of the drama and the transmutation, transition, toggling up. The feminine C, the 3 of the Empress, of the abundance of Gaia as an aid. P.S. Even of flames, the fairness of the flames, the balance of the flames, the transition. In the after-death test of using your abilities, your knowingness, in eaching and divine learning. So to each his own. So instead of teaching, it was coming up as eaching, to each his own, right? To be independent in divine learning. The Eve sees the Empress Perhaps Alcoholics Anonymous is coming up here. American Airlines could be coming up as well. We were just talking about a plane and mercury not being allowed on the planes because it dissolves aluminum. The depths, the chariots of fire in transition of the Adam. So we started out with Eve and it ends on Adam, teaching and learning. And I was getting the name Andy as well. Adam, teaching, and Andy, learning. That was interesting. So we start out with the Sage of Wands, which is the Queen of Wands reversed. Underneath it was the Queen of Swords upright, the Eight of Wands upright, Karma reversed, and the Page of Pentacles upright. So this pile right here, with the clarification on top, and the cards I just read were the ones 4 cards down. The Queen of Wands reversed after the Queen of Swords, in energetic exchange or expressing their feelings or desires, or arrows of love, perhaps a lot of messaging back and forth, and a need to deliberate or swallow their pride. The Page of Pentacles student, the opportunity, the invitation of the Queen of Wands reversed, standing up for themselves, riding in perhaps and starting over, moving, visiting, returning home. The Hierophant, establishment, religion or Taurus, and rumors or negative self-talk of the King of Swords reversed, choosing a new path against perhaps his better judgment. Or the Page of Swords, fending off others, and the King of Swords reversed, leading the way by choosing to start over. Hierophant or Taurus, moving to peace at 625, or actually 628, which is the Lovers and the Twin Flames, the choice of path. Moving to peace with the Two of Cups reversed, in a breakup or at a distance and leading the way. The Ten of Cups reversed, end of cycle. The Empress reversed, with unhappy family, or an ending to the emotional cycle. The Divine Masculine leading the way. Back in the saddle, breaking ground or ground breaking, the Empress reversed and the Hierophant upright and Empress reversed. So both the Hierophant and the Empress are both reversed, which can both be Taurus energies, but the Hierophant's upright, the Empress is reversed. Happiness and more peace apart from each other. The Queen of Swords speaks their truth of third party, social distancing, bad influences or groups, and the Empress reversed and the Queen of Pentacles upright. The Empress reversed and the Queen of Pentacles upright with no joy or social life or gossiping, bad influences, overindulgences, or canceled going to the pumpkin patch, or they canceled a coven gathering. So these could be two people who normally get along who are not getting along. Or they may have canceled an engagement party. Express your love comes up with the Nine of Cups upright, getting their wish. The Chariot, bold move, travel, Ascension, or Cancer, or the male bull exits. Right. After getting screwed by Aquarius reversed, or depression or arrogance. And the Five of Wands, the flame watching the unveiling, and the Emperor stunned, the trophy bride blinded by the light, wax dripping from chest in the ceiling or attic, leaks and overgrowth, signaling, I'll take 2 more, or doubling down, or balm on chest to break up the congestion is not working. Putting cups, rumors, swords all out on the table. No pentacles, of course. The Emperor's staff may be into pomegranates and paper hats or origamis. Compassion comes up here of 99, and beneath it surrender of 91, the reflection of the sun. Grieving loss, regret, the past, and the baton that was lost. Dumping multiple loads and or emotional attachments. Perhaps ran out of options. The moon at night with clarity, or starry night and clear. Negative self-talk, in debt, scam, inequity, of the star, the dream, the healer, or Aquarius. Of the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or community dream, could be a legacy, and the Page of Cups reversed, vulnerable, rejected, or spoiled brat. At night, clarity comes in with a negative message or rumors, or the Page of Swords reversed may be unbalanced. Slow to grow money, or conservative investor, or forgot about all the treasure in the attic. Dreams come true with the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or community, but rejected at the same time. Cancer upright, Aquarius upright, the Page of Cups reversed, and the Queen of Wands reversed, along with the Empress reversed. The Queen of Pentacles upright and the Emperor upright may be showing compassion to 3 generations of miserable or the Empress reversed with kids, Queen of Wands reversed and Page of Cups reversed, who may be very spoiled. The Queen of Pentacles and the Emperor facing away from each other with compassion. And recently here, for the masculine, is Ascension upright, coming clean with clarity, or clear in awakening, present to the Knight of Wands reversed and the Knight of Swords reversed together, recovering the King of Pentacles reversed, depression, standing up for themselves, fending off others, and fighting, conflicted, to get an announcement out, a wake-up call. The foundation here, or at the root of the matter, is the Two of Pentacles reversed, not offering it up to God, withholding post-war, waiting for the Fool to come to them. The Chariot, bold move with difficult kids, past or past returning, in energetic exchange at 714, which is the Chariot and the Temperance card, perhaps the higher love of the angels. Inspired, excited, Page of Wands, upright. And the central energy, the heart of the matter, is the Knight of Pentacles, reversed, stubborn, resistant. Stubborn and resistant, presenting the truth, or presented the truth and humbled by it, with dysfunctional family or loss in family, business, or community, not working, no work, layoffs, or stubborn mule won't move or budge, or is just dissatisfied. The challenge being here, the Seven of Wands rising above drama, the Page of Wands inspired by dysfunction or loss in the family, business, or community, and the High Priestess deceiving or deceptive, secret, Cancer, moon, or rising, or up before dawn, vulnerable, in a conflict of ending pain, betrayal, and or back pain and associated treatments at 717, the Chariot and the Star. Drained, sick, in need of sunshine, or overexposed, depressed, losing hope, or arrogant, the King of Cups upright, Justice, divorce, or Libra, dealing with Leo reversed, Aquarius reversed, Pisces upright, Virgo upright, or Cancer reversed. The Page of Cups reversed is unable to express and giving up trying to offer or receive love, the Silver Cup with the cherry on top at 720, the Chariot and Judgment, and the train horn blasted really loud. The Patient Angel of a higher love, Justice and the Devil, Libra, Capricorn, the Judge tempted by the Page of Pentacles student, child, or opportunity to awaken, and the King of Wands choosing a path of the present moment and presenting the truth, the whole truth, in order to triumph. Now, for the masculine, is alchemy, patient at a distance, Queen of Cups breaking patterns, and the Knight of Cups reversed, jealous, moody, and or insincere, perhaps letting go of the cards, holding them close to their chest, with all tools on board, all aboard the magic train. Perhaps Willy Wonka, or just happy manifesting without interference of the Knight of Cups reversed and the Page of Cups reversed. Perhaps kids who are moody or moody co-workers, or is satisfied alone or in separation in the alchemical process with the Page of Cups reversed and Leo upright tackling the boar without a leg to stand on and walking away anyway, the Emperor with a new project or student or child or opportunity to let go, repair, fix things up, perhaps. The Knight of Swords reversed is holding their tongue with the Devil or the Capricorn Page of Pentacles. Overworking may not be working, or malaligned with magic destiny, implementing a plan in romantic tie to the Ten of Cups reversed ending of an unhappy cycle. The King of Wands surrenders, not judged sweetly here by the Ten of Cups reversed family, very unhappy, and the King of Wands choosing a new path to be present or present the gift of the whole truth. Soon as the Four of Pentacles reversed, the Divine Masculine's heart in the Batcave coming out. The Nightmare moving to peace, with big love offered to give peace, and their hard work to be the Knight of Cups and offer love personally to the POW who may be powerless here. In energetic exchange and destined to be strong and tame the beast, the Divine Masculine's heart opening but vulnerable, Libra upright and Leo upright here. He sees himself as the Three of Pentacles upright, the workplace, his work. The King of Pentacles, Dark Night, in death, end, transition, or Scorpio, to walk away from the world, or the sealed Divine Feminine in 5D at 737, the Chariot and the King of Cups, sharing or settling out, with Hermit Advisor, shedding light. Pisces and or Virgo here. At 7:43, the Three of Cups coming together with the Chariot, perhaps driving somewhere, or the King of Pentacles bridging the gap and settling out with Pisces and or the World, with help of Virgo and or Scorpio perhaps, very soon, and let go of control issues for the masculine, keep an open mind. Around them or how they're seen is the Tower upright, a sudden end to family or emotional cycle of unhappiness, rising above, no sleep, or awakening and coming out at the workplace. The Queen of Wands reversed is not happy, or she's pissed, but taming the beast. And the block for the masculine is transition portal. The Knight of Cups offering love to the hostage, dependent, or powerless, or the prisoner of love. Teaching and learning, but even more so for the masculine here is relationship change and domestic harmony. The Page of Pentacles hurting themselves, cutting or drinking or self-sabotage, with the King of Pentacles at 7:41, the Chariot, and the Ace of Cups, trying to save them from themselves. The Chariot's upright, moving quickly, frustrated by the devil, temptation, the wave, with no real affection. The Chariot with no time for facilitators or vacillators. The King of Wands upright, choosing an X or a Caushix, and then choosing the left all of a sudden, going the other way, and the truth. The Empress reversed with abundance or lack thereof, or ill mother or grandmother or boss or aunt, and the King of Wands surrenders to the synchronicities. A sudden event, an explosion, eruption, or epiphany, blowing their crown, their top, their cover, their mind, or suddenly in lack, or the Empress reversed is ill or injured or miscarried. Dumping multiple loads or emotional attachments, coming downstairs to see the Ten of Cups reversed family grieve, the patient angel or a higher love, or grief-stricken and seeing angels off the beaten path. The Queen of Wands reversed dropped the ball at the workplace suddenly, completing a cycle of disability and or not working, and challenged by rising from the ashes, the Divine Masculine's heart opening in transition to a higher love, ascending quickly, or taking the Empress reversed energetically to the hospital after falling down the stairs, or running downstairs to go to the Ten of Cups reversed service, or to grieve together and be patient, angel, higher love, or Saggy. And again, that comes up as God sometimes, Saggy. The Queen of Wands reversed, ascending and vulnerable, dropping the mask or the facade, being stubborn and refusing to move or work, and challenged by rising above the drama and being patient. The workplace of the Divine Masculine's heart, opening to a bold move, suddenly to transition and or move quickly, and or Scorpio upright, Cancer upright, Taurus reversed, not ascending with family, grieving loss, regret, and the past, not angel. Okay, so that was the read. I'm going to give you an energy deck card here real quickly, so it won't be too long. We're already over an hour. So for everybody watching, for the best and highest good of all is concerned. Oh, I also wanted to show you this. This is an alchemy picture, and this was coming up from that website I was telling you about with the salt and the sulfur stuff and alchemy. So that might help you with, you know, like this. Here is the combination of the salt, sulfur, and mercury stuff here. It's kind of interesting, the words. I don't know how clearly you can see there. Let me see if I can make that a little better for you. There we go. Okay. Nope, wait a minute. Let me give that to you again without all the extraneous stuff on it. Here we go. All right, so for everybody watching, the best and highest good of, here's the picture of that, the sulfur distorted with the upside down triangle as opposed to an upright. And this was the read in front of you. Sorry about that. I should have showed it to you earlier. Okay. And here's the full read in front of you. All right. So for everybody watching, the best and highest good of all is concerned. What do we need to know? What do we need to learn? A lot of 14s and 41s were just coming up on the clock there. Let's Clear all negative energies across all dimensions of time, space, matter, and realities for the highest good of those concerned, and fill that empty space with only beautiful divine love and diamond crystalline light. And so it is. What is our takeaway from this read and all the information I presented? What is the message here? Victory. How beautiful. 28 is the Two of Wands, the twin flames, and victory. That's a really beautiful message. Okay, let's see what else is coming up here. This card also wants to be seen. Anxiety. So you may be clearing your anxiety. Number 18 is the moon. So again, that meditation I did with Jen McCarty when she did her meditation the other day was about clearing the false moon. And the underlying energy is 41 here, which is the Ace of Cups. Whether it's self-love, spiritual love, new love, right? She doesn't look very happy with everything she's achieved. You might need to start over in self-love and be more authentic to yourself in achieving your own true dreams, perhaps after a broken heart, which is required when expanding the heart. It can't expand unless it cracks, just like the Grinch's heart had to grow 3 times that day. It may not be an easy process, but it's necessary. A necessary toxin or evil. Look at the toxins in there in order to help you grow. Okay, after a contract may be ended, or maybe signing a new contract, something, maybe leaving the contract might have broken your heart, something ended that you didn't want to end, but now it's time to go into something new. And again, that was the underlying energy, and this is what came out for you. So we have the choice of new path, and then the anxiety about going on a new path, and to let go of that. Actually, the moon was reversed, so actually, this is coming up as victory over your anxiety, which is great. Look at that. All right, guys. Make sure you drink your water, get your rest, get your joy, get your nature. Be good to yourselves. And as always, rise and be love. I will talk to you soon.